about now? Sorry, I updated the firmware on the mixer and it must have reset it, so apologies for that. Don't know what happened there, but yeah, so happy hump day, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Although I'm noticing that music is cutting out really bad with the filter. The lovely peril that is audio engineering. Okay, let's see. Ratio. Okay. Hold on. No, I think that was... We want to raise... Need help buying a laptop. Budget is 1,000 Canadian. Well, I do know that Canadian stuff, unfortunately, has like different taxes, so I don't know how it goes. Lenovo's pretty cost effective on the low end of things, so you can get like the, what is it, the E series, I think it is? That seems to work out pretty well. ThinkPad-wise, pretty cost-effective laptop that'll last you for a few years. I don't know what the tax situation is like, though, when it comes to Canadian products, but I know in the US you can get them easily under $1,000. So, that's about as good as I can really advise you on there. But yeah, Lenovo's one that I really go to a lot of time. Just migrated from Windows 11 to Fedora. Awesome, everything works out of the box, even with Lutris. Yeah, I hear good things about Fedora. I don't personally have anything against it. It just doesn't suit my workflow because they have a rapid release cycle, as I've talked about many times. They release a new version every 6 months, and I use Linux distributions that have an LTS of, like, each one can have, like, 5 years of support right now. I'm on Pop! OS 2204. They're going to have 2404 released next month, and I will be going to 2604 when it comes out in April, May, somewhere around there. What's up, Cloud? How's it going? I do not know what is up with... I don't know what is up with my filters today. Maybe it's just that it's hitting that... I don't know. I may have to reboot that machine later. I also don't know if I should get a PS5 or build a PC. Build a PC. Here's the reality. If you buy a PS5, for the amount of money you could have spent, you could have put that towards a PC, and you can do a lot more with a PC than you can a PlayStation. It's a no-brainer. Sure, you might not get, like, certain platform exclusives, but overall, you're gonna have a device that's gonna sit there all the time, whereas you can have a device to actually do your work on, go browse the internet, go chat with friends, everything like that. So, I definitely recommend, that over that. Hold on 1 second. I want to see if this is the compressor that's... Okay, yeah. Thought it was the compressor that was being like that. It's a little bit too strong, I think. There we go. No, I just had to reset the... Nope, it's back. That's going to annoy me all the time. We'll figure it out. I'm gonna drop that to -30. I'm gonna have to do some tinkering and re-engineering because I think the firmware is messing with some of my settings over here. But yeah, what's your take on the new Steam machine coming out? Should I wait for it? It depends on the price. I've talked about this in a few past streams. It looks interesting. I personally am not interested in it, but that's because I already have what's going to be more powerful than that. And I use a machine for different purposes than just gaming. But for the average everyday person, I think it's a really good solution. Okay, hold on 1 second. I need to fix my audio. Speakers, main multi-track. Hold on. Let's see. Alright, is that gonna actually work a little bit better? Hopefully that fixed it. That has been annoying me, that the audio, the music was cutting in and out. Sorry. Does unremovable spyware really exist? Yes. There is stuff that can potentially install at the firmware level. There is like things like rootkits, all of that. Potentially, you could consider some of the anti-cheats like that. How exactly do you get Bitcoin? Is it mined? Well, you can buy Bitcoin. You can trade another cryptocurrency for it. The other way is that you can... mining is basically just computationally hash cracking. That's really all it is. It's just computation for the computer to do to go through all of that, and yeah. How do you buy it? You go to an exchange. There's tons of exchanges out there. Like, one I use personally is Coinbase. If you do use Coinbase, I will give the advice of using the advanced menu, because if you use the advanced trading, the fees are lower. How would quantum computers be able to mine super fast? Theoretically, it's that so quantum computing works different than traditional binary systems. So binary can be 0 or 1. Quantum can exist in a different state, so it doesn't have to be 0 or 1. It can also be 0 and 1. It's technologically completely different. Now, the reality is that a lot of people say, you know, quantum computers are going to break Bitcoin. That's only if the Bitcoin protocol doesn't migrate to another encryption standard. And all that requires is you to, basically get a consensus, 51% of the entire mining network, to agree to a new standard. And then boom, you're on a new cryptographic standard. What about Monero? Monero's the same thing, just a different protocol they use. They use, crap, what algorithm are they on now? I know they've changed algorithms before, but they also use, rings and a whole bunch of different things. It's technologically different, but fundamentally, it's mined the same way. You computationally throw hashes at it, and eventually, if you solve a block, boom, you win coins. Got the Rodecaster Pro 2 now, but came with the German plug, not UK. Yeah, I got the Rodecaster Pro 2 over here. It's pretty nice. How do I get into GRC? Well, governance, risk, and compliance is probably one of the easier things to break into. You'll want to be a compliance analyst or something like that. When I say it's easier to break into, because you don't have to be technically as knowledgeable as the other fields. So, yeah. Okay, I'm trying to see if this is gonna fix this. Okay, so it was, I think, actually the, okay, so it was the processing of this. Alright, so I want to have the neutral. Alright, hopefully that fixes it. I don't know. I reset the firmware on this device, and it's been messing with the audio levels and all that, so I'm going to be playing with it throughout. Sorry about that. There's an echo on the mic, but I don't have the effect on, so not sure if that's normal. What do you mean there's an echo on the mic? You mean echo? There shouldn't be an echo. Oh, on my mic? Let me see something. Oh, on yours. Oh, there can be an echo. There is an echo feature. I just haven't played with it, really. I don't really do echo much. There, I think, is the effect for it that you can do in there. Yeah, okay. Have you heard about Libre pods? Yes. If you actually monitor my stars, I made a bot that monitors my GitHub for when I actually go star something. You'll see that I actually did see that, so it pops up in my Discord, in my Matrix, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. But yeah, for everyone that's not aware, they basically reverse engineered Apple's noise cancellation and other features for the AirPods to be able to be used on non-Apple devices. I don't know why Apple, well, I do know why Apple paywalled it. They paywalled it because they want you to get into the ecosystem and make you think that you need to get Apple products for everything. Okay, I just heard myself on there, but anyway. Took a week to get it delivered by Amazon. Oof. What is a decentralized VPN? Do you recommend any brand? Decentralized VPN. What does decentralization mean? What is a VPN? Combine the two. There's your answer. All it is that regular VPNs, you route through a single server, or at most you can do you can do correlation between the two. That's a whole other thing we're not going to get into. But all it is there's different providers. I haven't played with any of them myself. I know there's like Orchid and I think DVPN and a few others. I hear things about them, but for me personally, I don't see the use case. For me personally. Not saying there isn't one, just saying for me personally. Best certs for cybersecurity? Well, I only have one cert. The CISSP. That's it. That's the only cert I've ever gotten. I think people put an overemphasis on certs. Do they help you get through the HR wall? Yes. But, you know, like, I think people need to stop thinking about, oh, what's the best cert to do this? It's find certs that can go with the path that you want to get. Don't just get certs to get certs. Because that actually can harm a lot of people. Experience is going to matter more than anything. And a lot of people don't realize you can gain experience and put that experience for your home lab on a resume. That's how I started my gig and everything. Even though I might be going back for my bachelor's degree, but that's more about breaking HR paywalls and stuff like that. I do not know why that is deciding to unmute itself every so often. I'll mute that. At least you understand a lot of everything. Yeah, I tried to. Need to get VESA out because I have no space on the desk for it. Oh, I can understand that. I have no space on my desk right now because I am planning some home lab upgrades over here. So I completely forgot that I had this mini PC over here. This is the Purism Libre Mini, which I got from Start9. They sent it to me as a demo unit. It is great, don't get me wrong. It came with StartOS, really great project. StartOS, definitely can recommend it, but it didn't fit my needs for what I need to do with this project. In this project, we are going to be having, well, this is going to be my logging server, my endpoint detection and response, or as some people will colloquially know, is called antivirus. But the idea of antivirus today is antiquated. The problem is antivirus of old days is signature-based. What does that mean? Well, it can only find detections that actually were caught and we now have definitions for. EDR is endpoint detection and response. It looks more at the behavior of what things are doing. So we're going to be running Waza on this. We're also going to be using this as a logging server. I know it seems boring, but we're going to make some cool dashboards with this. The idea being, it's going to monitor my firewall, pfSense. It's going to monitor all the telemetry and stuff on my switches with Unify, using the Unify Polar. And we're going to be using Graylog to normalize the logs from Suricata, the intrusion detection and intrusion prevention system, IDS-IPS, so that way we can then feed it into Grafana for more dashboards. I'm wearing a Grafana t-shirt, by the way. And then Waza's going to be smacked on top of this. This little Purism Librem over here has a Core i7 10510, if I recall, and 32 gigabytes of memory, and I think a 2 terabyte NVMe is on here, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to run all of that stuff over there. So yeah, I just updated the BIOS for it yesterday. Then we have this little PC over here. I picked this up at Hamvention. It's a $30 secondhand unit I got. Lenovo Core i5. We upgraded it to 16 gigabytes of DDR3 memory. And it's got a SATA USD in here. SATA SSD, 1 terabyte. I originally was thinking this was going to be the logging server, and then I completely forgot that I had this, so this is going to be it. But this is going to be for the automation. So I'm probably going to move my bots that are over on a Raspberry Pi 4 over to this. And I'm probably going to, well, I am going to be running N8N on this, which is going to take care of the automations for the LLM server I'm building, as well as I'm going to be, once I get Waza set up, I'm going to be setting up a SOAR with this, which is Security Orchestrated Automated Response. So the idea being, if certain things are detected, Waza can then take action. So that's where EDRs and XDRs come in more power. Because rather than just saying, oh yeah, a virus was found, we just shut, it's like, oh, behavior was found, somebody was moving across the device, and now we can see patterns between different devices, there's lateral movement, we can lock down those devices and send an alert. Remember, I used to watch you 3D print stuff during COVID. Yep, I used to do a lot of 3D printing. I don't as much anymore. I gotta maintain my printers. Hope they add more sound separation and update because they only have main system and chat. You can actually do audio routing differently on the device. You can do it on the device, or you can add the Rode app. There's a Rodecaster app you can install that lets you control the mixer a little bit more. I was playing with it because I had to update to it to update the firmware on this because it was running a really old version of the firmware. Do you have videos on this and how to set it up? What, I will have videos on this. I haven't gone through it yet. Well, I have a few years ago. But we will go through some videos for me, at least on a high level, to talk about how I set this up. We're probably going to be using Ubuntu 2404 server for all of these things. But yeah, what's up, Vampire? Jifa's live stream on the hub. Okay, I didn't know there was an app through it run its own OS on board. Yeah, it's a really nice mixer. It's very powerful. It has an Ethernet port if you want to do your own updates. There's ways for you to actually do VoIP on it, apparently. Like if you're doing like call in and things like that. It's very powerful. But yeah, I will definitely have videos on all the stuff I'm doing. It's just a matter of I'm building them all out. I will have videos on the bots that I've made so far. Once I get this home lab set up with the LLM, TTS, automation, and logging server, the SIEM, so SIEM, SOAR, EDR, all of that stuff, then I'm going to start planning for... once I get the LLM and TTS flow working, I want to make another LLM server, but a little bit more beefy one. Because I have an idea to make a moderation bot for Discord, Matrix, Twitch, Kick, maybe YouTube as well. That'll do, because the problem that I find with a lot of moderation software, whether it's Stream Elements, Me6, you name it, they're all regex based. So the problem is if your regex is not set to find those kind of things, you can get around them. We've all seen stream clips of people getting around certain terms by using different combinations of other words or other things like that. Well, if I can actually combine the regex settings with an LLM to do the processing, and then say, oh, these combinations of words are actually meaning this, or it can sound like this. What is N8N and why would you use it? Use cases? It's an automation workflow. So you can use it for security automations from my EDR. So if there's certain things found, it can do that. You can have it, pretty much anything you want to automate. So like, let's say an example I'm going to do is have it grab a bunch of articles from different news sources, have it run through an LLM, process each article, make a digest of it, then send off an email or a message to me about each article. So I can get a synopsis of it without actually having to read it. And then if I want the specifics, I can then do that. There's a lot of things you can do. You're limited by your imagination, and automation is a big skill you can have in IT and cybersecurity. Is it like the Shortcuts app on iOS? That is small potatoes compared to this. The Shortcuts app on iOS is, I'm not joking, like a baby toy compared to this. You can automate a whole lot with N8N. I bought the Discord bot maker on Steam and got no idea how to use it. What Discord bot maker? Can I ask for some advice regarding web security? You don't have to ask, just ask. Got it connected to Wi-Fi. Yeah. I should probably connect mine. I haven't set that. Wait, it can do Wi-Fi? I can't remember if it did or not. There's a Discord bot maker on Steam. What is this thing? Because I just write my own. Alright, let's see. Discord bot maker. There's several. Discord bot maker. Discord bot builder. Bot studio for Discord. Discord bot maker. There's like multiple ones. What should I do about it? Do about what? It's a pretty broad question. Cloudflare filter for what? What Cloudflare filter? You gotta be a little bit more specific because Cloudflare has a lot of different filtering products. It should be the one that charges you a price. There's like 4 that I can see that have a price. I'll show you. Hold on. I am here for my annual performance review. Also, I open a new debit account with Discover. The new card will be here in 5 to 7 days. Nice. But yeah, if you go type in Discord bot maker, I see 4 right here. Let's see. Yeah, there's 4. They're all paid for. 1, 2017, 2019, 2020, 2023. I don't know. Don't use these, make them yourself. Oh, I know. I'm just seeing what the hell they're talking about. I make my own. Like, hold on. Yeah. Wait, no. Wait, no, that's my, other bot. Yeah, like this. This is one of my bots. Well, it works with Discord, among other things. But this is my bot that I've made for alerting when I'm live on stream. We also have... Well, the main one that's a Discord bot is Penguin Overlord, which I'll bring that up over here. This is Penguin Overlord. It has a bunch of different features in here. News feeds, little fun things. So... if you notice, here, I'll go to the bot channel so I don't spam everyone. But you can go... you can do quotes. You can... there's a lot that this bot does. Are all your variables in title case? What do you mean in title case? With the exclamation? No, it's just sometimes the slash doesn't always load all the things when I set it up. But it should, well, yeah, because it takes a while to sync up, but now it works fine. I built both. You can do like, let's see, license class. So you can find privileges that you have. Chief, if Hightail makes their game with home servers, will you host a server? Maybe. I have stuff left over. Oh, you're talking about the $9.99 one? I don't know why people buy these things. So what? You basically have a WYSIWYG? Well, that's... so all this is basically just... that's super basic. So basically, you can, like, do basic functions and then just basically do a WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get. That seems basic. I make mine in Python, and then I Dockerize them. So, my admin class, you've got comics over here. So, for example, you can get an XKCD comic. Wait, no, that's the... grab a specific one. Don't have one on top of my head that I want to pull. But, yeah, see? It'll go to XKCD. You can do comic. Not that one, it's top of page. What, this one? Yeah, it's basically the same concept here. You just have the ability to, like, do all this. The problem is, these are gonna be way too simplistic for what I do and won't let me make a lot of the features that I do. Like, eventually, what I'm probably going to end up doing is modify this bot or make another one once I get it moved over to a Kubernetes cluster to then pipe the moderation through an LLM. The entire Divine app is vibe coded by Claude AI. What Divine app? What software do you use to make flowcharts? Draw.io is what I use. Is SOC analyst the same as incident responder? Yeah, for the most part. So the one that I use for flowcharts, it's Draw.io. It's about as close as you can get to Visio without paying Visio money. And it works on Linux. They do have it work on website. I'll just ask ChatGPT to write the script for the bot because I have no idea about coding. ChatGPT does not work that well for coding. It'll do very, very basic things. But here's the thing. And I'm going to make a video about this later. Don't just rely on an LLM to do all the coding for you. Do I use an LLM to do a lot of the coding? Nowadays, yes, because it's faster than me writing it myself. But I know what I'm looking for, and I know what are issues. Oh, Divine is supposed to be the new Vine app. Oh, okay. Are you more explicit? I didn't want to post here the full path. Oh. Yeah, you have to be able to troubleshoot the LLM code. Or as I say, vibe coding is fine as long as you're vibe checking. Now, you can't see it off screen, but you'll notice I use GitHub Copilot over here. I'm on the Pro Plus plan using Claude. But if you look at how mine is architected over here, you know, like there's all these files broken out over here. There's no way an LLM is going to structure it like this. If you actually have an LLM build an app, I've run into it'll want you to hard code things into the app, like your security keys and stuff you shouldn't. It'll not know how to modularize the code unless you tell it to. It will not optimize the code unless you tell it how to. It will not use secret managers unless you tell it how to. It will not Dockerize it until you let it know how to. It will not make CI/CD workflows until you tell it how to handle that. It will not handle your infrastructure as code environment or even build it for IAC like Terraform or OpenTofu until you tell it about it. You can use LLMs to learn about coding, but don't rely on LLMs to do the coding without the expectation of you understanding what's going on there. I learned how to code from the bad code LLMs made, and then looking and researching up the better concepts that needed to be done. My main concern with Divine being vibe coded is the security concerns. Like I said, it's not an issue of being vibe coded. It's more the human operator. Vibe coding in and of itself can be done securely. I actually have showed it many times. But it's dependent upon the operator. Like a lot and learn and I'm slow. Yeah, okay. Like, I actually was writing a script earlier. I'll read a little excerpt about it, which should help you get understanding exactly what I'm saying. Because I worded it better earlier when I was over lunch and I was chilling. My content creation folder. Alright. Nope, that's towards the end. Okay. I'm almost at that section. Vibe coding is fine, but only if you're also vibe checking. And yes, that's a term I'm coining right now. Vibe checking means reviewing, testing, auditing, scanning, and validating every single thing the model gives you, because vibes alone are not a software development strategy. Today we're breaking down why LLMs aren't senior engineers, why vibe coding without vibe checking is dangerous, and how we've already watched real apps in the real world absolutely collapse because nobody bothered to test their infrastructure. And that's, yeah, this is the quote I was looking for that I put in. They're not senior engineers, they're autocomplete with confidence. They don't know your VPC layout, IAM policies, firewall rules, or internal architecture. And that's where vibe coding can be dangerous. When you have people that depend on that. Have you done CISSP? Yes, I have. I have my CISP. I got that over a year ago at this point. Is it a coding stream? Not really. It's more of a planning stream than anything, a planning and chill, because, but they were asking about vibe coding, so I just showed them the things I've done. Although I am going to be making a Yo Mama bot later. So I had a funny idea while I was at lunch of, I'm going to tie into an LLM for it to make Yo Mama jokes. And it came up with some bangers earlier. Like, Yo Mama's so indecisive, even Clippy didn't know how to help her. Yo Mama's so insecure that CrowdStrike threw her into reduced functionality mode. Yo Mama's so slow while she was catching up her emails, Outlook timed her out. All these automations and scripts, do you have an external backup to them? Yes. They're all on GitHub. I open source my things. Almost all of my stuff is on GitHub. And I have a NAS with an S3 backup when they're not. So you can actually go to my GitHub. I have a few private ones. How important is prompting LLMs? It's pretty important, especially nowadays, especially if you want to start jailbreaking an LLM and do the security. But yeah, I have most of my repositories here for a bunch of my stuff I make. And you can see I pretty frequently am building things. See? Like, some pretty busy days in terms of contributions. What is GitHub? GitHub is the world's largest repository for open source projects. Businesses also use it to manage their repositories. You can find a bunch of different projects, contribute on them. It's all centered around the Git software, which was also written by Linus Torvalds, the maker of Linux, so they could do version control. But yeah, you can find, here we can find like different trending apps over here. Cloud native application proxy, a list of open source games. These are just people that are, you know, have pretty popular projects on there. There's actually even a few that I starred earlier. So Container Lab was something a friend put me onto, which allows you to do container-based networking labs for you to do education based on Docker. LibrePods, we talked about that earlier. GitHub Copilot CLI, NVIDIA GPU metrics. This was a monitoring one. This was Node Exporter, the Monero suite, Ucraft, which is a tiny Minecraft server that you can even run on a tiny light bulb. Hidden VM, use any desktop OS without leaving a trace. Blink disk, that's something I'm looking at and we'll talk more about. That's actually a company that reached out to me. I'm gonna meet with them later on and see what that's about. The glory old days of SVN. No, we do not talk about subversion around here. That is a dirty word around here. What are your thoughts on Linus? You're gonna have to be more specific. Which Linus? But yeah, GitHub, if you're gonna get into tech, even if it's not cybersecurity, is something you should familiarize yourself with. The largest router brand in Germany is offering VPN using WireGuard for free, so they must have a use case. Well, WireGuard is an open source protocol, so if they're just including it on the router, I don't see the issue there. Unless you're talking about they're giving away a commercial side for their infrastructure to use it. How do you mitigate forensic analysis of data? Encrypting would erase all the existing data. No, encrypting does not erase all the data. Encrypting merely obfuscates the data with, you know, cryptography. That's all it does. If you can break the encryption, then you can, do analysis on the data. But the reality is most encryption schemes, well, not Windows BitLocker. It's not that great. There's backdoors for that one. People have exploited that. But let's say you use Lux, Linux Unified Key System, I think it is, which is their cryptographic way to encrypt disks. I use it on my machines. Most people in Linux use Lux. That's a little bit harder to break open. But as far as like preventing forensic analysis of data, well, if it's an SSD, you're kind of boned because SSD does not permanently delete data. In fact, the way that we're told, so with the mechanical hard drive, you can do a 7-pass overwrite, and in most cases, you can't get the data back. It destroys it from forensic analysis in most cases, especially if you, I think a 7-layer wipe is DoD grade, if I'm not mistaken. But when it comes to flash memory, what you are actually told to do to protect the data from being analyzed is you're supposed to shred or physically destroy the drive. That's actually something that went over in the CISSP course too. Can you make it where we can fire back at the Yo Mama bot? Possibly. I'm probably going to run that on Gemini 2.5 Flash live, so that way I don't hit the RPM, the rate per minute and rate per day limits. But it's not always going to be consistent, so yeah. I've used some jank source control. IBM Rational Clear Case U. There are active backdoors for BitLocker. There's been like several that I know of people have talked about. BitLocker is not all that secure. Let's see if I can look it up. So, if I remember, here we are. Titled the Defeating Microsoft's Default BitLocker Implementation. So, there have been articles talking about this. But there's ways to break into it. It's not the most sophisticated system compared to like Lux. I mean, it's pretty sophisticated, but there are ways to backdoor it. It's a little bit involved. The problem is that Microsoft's BitLocker often may require TPM being involved. Not in all cases, but it can. And the TPM itself has been backdoored. So that's why I've never been a fan of TPMs, the Trusted Platform Module, because it's a static system that can't ever be updated, whereas Lux is software, so we can update that at any given time. We can change it, we can modify it. What about Veracrypt? What about it? No, open source is not more vulnerable. That is a complete flawed logic. Because here's the thing: the premise that just because you can see the source code makes it more secure, less secure, is completely flawed. In fact, the ability for more people to see the code means that there's more eyeballs on the problem to be able to fix the problem. This has been proven time and time again. Let's talk about like the XZUtils backdoor. How did that get discovered? Because that would have happened over years. It was a very sophisticated social engineering aspect. Well, simply put, somebody was actually compiling. I could save money now and everyone could eat. Getting money in the daytime, even count it when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch. I do this for the streets. ADHD. Thank you for that sub over there, Marco. Thank you. 6 months. Damn. Half a year, buddy. Appreciate it. Wasn't there a recent exploit that was found by like one dude? That's not an argument. There's exploits all the time. The only way to not get exploited is to be completely air-gapped and then not have any untrustworthy people come by your system. Windows, Mac, Linux, FreeBSD, Haiku, I don't care what you're talking about. That's the truth. I like an argument for open source is good. Oh, yeah. Well, in that case, yeah, there's a lot of different cases of exploits being found. I mean, you got to be more specific. Like executils, the, as I was saying before I went, got the sub notification, executils is a compression utility that's used in a lot of different things. They had modified it to basically create a backdoor. It was a very sophisticated social engineering attack. But they caught it so fast because one developer was compiling software and noticed the compile time was only like a couple hundred milliseconds slow. I want you to think about that. Because another developer was able to look at this mundane piece of software that no one would have thought of and said, wait, this is weird. Let me look into why this compile time is just slightly longer. In proprietary software, that wouldn't have been found. In fact, in the case of, you know, when you say like proprietary software is more secure, the NSA has been caught paying Microsoft basically, or convincing them to withhold patches in known exploits so the NSA could actually actively exploit other nation states. Microsoft was apparently aware of the flaws, and they delayed the patches so the NSA could do stuff with it. Snowden used Tails OS and Cubes OS. Tails OS went on the go, but he also has used Cubes OS and that. In fact, NSA and proprietary software would let that go. Well, yeah, they have let that go. What was it? The NSA, I think it was Eternal Blue. An actively exploit. Yep. Here we go. Eternal Blue is a computer exploit software developed by the U.S. National Security Agency. It is based on a zero-day vulnerability in Microsoft Windows that allowed users to gain access to any number of computers connected to a network. The NSA was aware of this vulnerability but did not disclose it to Microsoft for several years. Now, why did they not disclose this? This is just one case where they did not disclose it, but there have been cases where they have been disclosed and told them not to. Well, because they wanted to do this. Now, in open source software, you have a lot more people looking at the code that would have probably seen this eventually and then said, no, we're going to close that hole. In fact, it's happened. There was an allegation many years ago where the NSA tried to slip an intentional backdoor, allegedly. The backdoor attempt of 2003. So there was a security bug that appeared in Debian Linux in 2006, and whether it was really a backdoor inserted by the NSA, he concluded that it was probably not. But again, we don't know the full story about this. Well, basically, the long and short of this situation was somebody had inserted some code or tried to commit some code, and then people actually started to, scrutinize this code and said, no, we can't merge this in. The UK is trying to force Apple to have a backdoor, but Apple will refuse. In order for Apple to truly refuse, what they would need to do is threaten to not sell their computers in the UK. But they've already bended the knee a few times when they stopped doing advanced data protection for Apple users inside of the UK. If they want to actually stand up for it, then they need to actually do what BlackBerry did. BlackBerry many years ago, I think it was in Afghanistan if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, that country said they wanted a backdoor in all devices and all that, and BlackBerry just said, nope, we're not going to sell in your country anymore. Bye! Is Snowden the biggest whistleblower in history? I wouldn't say the biggest, but he's one of the biggest. There's been bigger whistleblowers in the past. Well, I mean, in different generations, depending on how you look at different things. LLM is not good at finding vulnerabilities because they make stuff up. Well, that and LLMs are only able to work off of data that they already were given. LLMs are not really creative. That's why if you look at an LLM that creates artwork, it's really just taking other artwork that it's been trained on and creates it again. What is a good general free tier LLM? The one you host and run yourself. The honest truth is, like any of the free LLMs, they're okay, but they're not really that great. And honestly, $20 a month for ChatGPT, is it 20? I think it's 20 or 15. Is not that bad. GitHub Copilot Pro Plus, or GitHub Copilot Pro for $10 is not too bad. Although I'm on the Pro Plus plan because I was burning through queries. LLM just advanced autocorrect, Loki. Well, like I said, it's basically just auto-completion with more confidence. Want local, you can do LLM Studio or Llama. Yeah, I do LM Studio. Well, it's not LLM Studio, it's LM Studio. It's LM Studio. Hold on. Close that. Hold on. Trying to find something for y'all. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Okay. There it is. Okay, sorry. So, LM Studio is this app over here. Make sure it opens up. Yeah, okay. We played with this a few times. So, LM Studio is pretty great because you can actually keep your queries and everything in the past. And you can go modify it. So this gives you the most ChatGPT-like experience, but it's dependent upon your system specs to run some of these things. So this is a good basic one, but it's not going to be anywhere near, like, say, Claude 4.5, ChatGPT 5.1, and you're going to need a pretty good GPU in order to go through that. Trying to find that. What hardware would be needed to run that efficiently? You're going to need a good GPU. The GPU is the most important part. I run a 3070 and I do okay. I am building a machine with the 5060 Ti because it has double the memory. The VRAM is more important than the actual overall processing. But honestly, a 3090 does pretty well. But you can do a lot better with other things out there. That's why there's like the NVIDIA H100s, H200s. There's GPUs. Well, they're not really GPUs, but they're more AI processors that are like tens of thousands of dollars. It's ridiculous how expensive they can get. Interesting. That wasn't working. Current keyframe is 8.4 seconds. That's weird. YouTube's being weird. You have a 5080, then you should be fine for a few things. I mean, again, you're not going to get the most high-end things. I think with a 5080... What's a 5080's VRAM? Oh, 16? You'll probably be able to do maybe 13 billion parameters or so. To give you an idea, I think like ChatGPT on their stuff and Claude in the cloud is closer to like 300 billion parameters. 4080 or 4090 save a bit of money. The issue is the 4090 only has 24 gigs of memory. The 5090 has 32. That new framework desktop PC they had is actually a lot better. But it's not well, no, it's not as good at processing as that, but you have a lot more memory to throw at it. It can only do, what is it, 50 teraflops? I think of it processing. But yeah. But doesn't the VRAM and the RAM work together? Yes and no. The problem is that it's using the PCI Express bus to actually send data to and from. So it's going to be limited compared to, say, the everything being processed on the GPU itself. Because it's going to be thrashing back and forth. That's why you ideally want as much VRAM as possible. They were introducing backwards compatibility today or next year, making x86 game work on ARM-powered PCs. That'd be nice. How do you commit wire fraud? You send money electronically illegally. That's the long and short of it. I mean, by all means, you can go do it yourself and then let us know how it goes. How do you access the money? You put it in a bank account you can access. So, yeah. I don't know why YouTube is being weird with the data. I don't know, it's being weird. Anyway, is credit card fraud still a thing nowadays? Yes, it is. If you're good at soldering, you could stick 32 VRAM on an RTX 4090. Not without a BIOS flash. Could you show us the VMs you have? There's not that many on my machine right now, but sure. These are all the ones I have right now. Only a few. From us playing with things. Poly, which I don't recommend. Parrot OS is better than that. Nyarch from the one day. Menuet, we were trying to set up one day. React OS, like the open source Windows one. This was a project that kind of just failed. Just Ubuntu 2404 for when I needed to blow things up. Hunix over here for if I do Tor, Haiku, and Andy's Ham Radio Linux. Oh, and of course, Hannah Montana Linux. Have a good night, Nicky Grives. The chief has forgotten to check the Twitch chat. Yes, I have checked the Twitch chat. I just responded to Han's question. Or not. You got an ARM-powered PC that you consider playing games on? I have not. I don't really have powerful ARM stuff. Haiku OS. Well, Haiku OS is basically a beta operating system based off the BOS operating system. Was really ahead of its time. It had multi-threading, and it was just a super fast operating system back in the day. So this is BOS. It's super lean compared to that. I played with it a little bit. Yeah, BOS was really ahead of its time. I wish it took off more. It was the alternative to the Unix styles and everything. Do local LLMs have the same restrictions? No, LLMs are jailbroken. I mean, they don't have any guardrails. Only the ones you give them. What's the software VM manager? I'm using KVM. So I'm using KVM, which is built into Linux, and then I'm just using Virtual Machine Manager as this little GUI right here. But this is built into Linux with libvirt. Works a lot better than the VirtualBox and all that. Are these GPU pass-through? No, but I can do that. I just haven't had the need to. Yeah, KVM QEMU. Chief, where's the bot that tells you the summary of chat? The Frosty tools, I need to go fix that. That's actually one of the things I want to make my own bot for, because Frosty tools changed some stuff up that it's no longer doing the summary of the chat like I did. That's why I've been making a lot of my own bots, because I got tired of all these, you know, bot makers not maintaining their bots, or they would then start paywalling certain features, and eventually I'm just like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna make my own. So we're gonna have my own bot when I get my LLM server set up to actually go through and summarize the chat. That should be fun. Can build that into my moderation stuff. I want to turn an old PC into a system that runs PlayStation 2 and older games. You can do that with pretty much any machine these days. Could you go through Unix? Unix is just a operating system that Torifies everything. A lot of people use Tails for this, but Unix is a lot better. So everything in this machine will run over Tor, including system updates. It's designed to be a virtual machine. You could theoretically put the gateway on a hardware device and physically isolate them. That's a whole other thing. But anyway, this is the gateway VM over here. This ties its network connection to this machine over here. So without this, this won't work. And the reason for that is this enforces all the connections over there so they don't go over ClearNet. And see? Tor. But yeah, it just Torifies everything, so it's a lot more secure and private. So for example, I'll show you, it's literally even going to pull its updates over Tor. So if you see Tor plus HTTPS over here, tells you that it's getting it from the repositories over Tor. What are your thoughts on IoT? Do you have a security camera? Yeah, I do. They're just on their own VLAN. Ham Radio Chief on TikTok. Oh yeah, ham radio's been fun. I gotta get back into doing that. I just got my Meshtastic node set up. So I'll eventually be getting MQTT set up through a Raspberry Pi on the LilyGo T-Beam Supreme. That's what this box of hardware is for. But we got so many projects to get through. I still got to do the SIEM, the SOAR, the automations, the EDR, the LLM, the TTS servers, and then also the Meshtastic stuff. So we've got quite a few things. Like the one you have, that mini PC? Yeah. But yeah, basically this is pretty straightforward. Now what I'm planning to do with my bots, I'm gonna let that update actually, because it needs to update anyway. Hold on, where was I going with this? Before we get into the videos for the night, to go check out and view, because I know we got a lot in the review on stream section. Crap, where was I going with this? Remember the video about Pick OS that was ahead of its time? Was it... You mean Haiku OS? Was it more ahead than BOS? Or, wait, no. No, Haiku was the successor to BOS. Pick OS. Don't remember that one. There was quite a few that were like... The 90s were a really golden time for a lot of software development and innovation. A lot of things got left behind. What is the difference between Tor HTTPS protocol and HTTPS? Do they work the same with auth or... So you can run HTTPS over Tor. All it's doing is it's having it run over the Tor network. There's Tor addresses that it'll hit and stuff like that. Crap, what was I going to look up? '90s was good all around. Don't like today's '90s. Had best things, yeah. Crap. What the hell was I gonna show? Oh, yeah. So, this is the software I'm planning to use for all of my dashboards. It's called Grafana. They do have a free cloud version if you want to play with it. But I'm going to be running the local version. They have an open source software version. And I can actually show you a demo of it. We've shown this before. Was it play.grafana.com? So this is basically Grafana with some demo dashboards they have. You can customize it to do pretty much anything. So you can have like basics over there. You can have your metrics being pulled up over here. You can program this to display just about any data you want in any certain way you want. It's way more customizable than Datadog. You can actually use Datadog as a source for this. It's so powerful, if you want, you can even run Doom inside of it. Cheesecake Factory you're looking up. But yeah, you can literally run it inside of it. Of course, it's not that fast, but... So that goes to show you how powerful it is. You can even do different kind of alertings. Let me see if I can remember... There was a cool thing I found. Oh, they got a demo with Google Sheet. Yeah, you can pull Google Sheets in. There's a lot you can do to this. You'll see once I get it done. But if you go to Grafana, you can search. You can find a lot of people share their dashboards. Of course, you're not going to have a screenshot on that one. Okay, what is with people not sharing the screenshots? There we go. So you can see they can show the metrics and different things like that using the Telegraph service. Just an example. So you can have this monitor a lot of your metrics for all your different systems in there. I'm going to be tying mine into a gray log and things like that. Doom run can just run on everything and even a PDF. Well, it's a very, very simple code. Compared to a lot of the other things we have, it's just a very, very simple game to run. Showed this video on stream. Okay. Oh, PicOS! Okay, yeah. That was the, database one. I forgot. Yeah. It was one of the ones I've never gotten to use, but there was a lot of things that got left behind in the 90s. Doom could run on a potato. Yeah, it totally could. But, without further ado, let's continue off where we were. We went through the malware things last time. So... looks like he had an SGI computer on this video. Alright, let's see. Are you gonna load? Come on, be a good boy.
This is my Silicon Graphics 02, and it is the coolest computer of 1996. It uses the
Silicon Graphics was so freaking ahead of its time.
Called IRIX, and I don't have the password for it. So today we're going to exploit a huge security flaw and break in. We're hacking Unix, so stay tuned. And if you enjoy the often lackadaisical security of the mid-1990s, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. Throughout the 90s and into the 2000s,
barely.
Silicon Graphics, aka SGI,
I know enough to use it, but
ludicrously powerful graphics and multimedia workstations. And
Unix still exists
using the incredibly powerful MIPS architecture, extremely advanced custom graphics hardware that sometimes cost more than a house, and running IRIX, SGI's special version of Unix. These machines cost anywhere from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars each. And they were famously used to do things like render all the dinosaurs in the original Jurassic Park and render the entire 1996 classic 3D movie A Bug's Life. Things that would be near impossible using any other contemporary hardware. The 02 that I have here was SGI's entry-level machine in 1996. As the budget option, it only cost between $6,000 and $16,000 when it was new, depending on config. For perspective, you could buy a brand new 1996 Geo Prism for that kind of cash. Nicely equipped too. I actually quite like a Geo Prism. Back in the day, you could often find these O2s hanging out in places like TV stations, where they would handle things like chroma key for the weather report, and all of the on-screen graphical overlays, thanks to its unique hardware. Or in high-end university computer labs, which is where it seems this one came from. We'll see some clues to that effect in a bit. But for now, why don't we take a closer look at this thing, take it apart, and then try to hack into it. So I have been obsessed with Silicon Graphics computers ever since I was a kid, and I first saw
such an interesting IP address.
Jurassic Park. Of course, back then I never dreamed that I would even see one in person, let alone now own 5
I guess that's
of them.
before you had,
you may have seen some other SGI machines make appearances in previous videos, but never this one. I especially love
I've always wanted to use an SGI machine. They were so ahead of their time.
Not much bigger than a PowerMac G4 Cube. All the other SGI machines I own are big and beefy and incredibly heavy and unwieldy. But this thing is just a super svelte,
they were super powerful back in the day.
Lump of a 90s powerhouse. The other interesting thing about this is how modular it is. Check this out.
Yup.
We have video input. We have our hard drive, which is SCA SCSI. We can take our power supply out, just like this. And in fact, the whole motherboard. Look at that. An incredibly modular machine. And if we take a look at the guts here, we can see the MIPS CPU with this gigantic heatsink on it. Super long sticks of memory. Look at that. If you look at the Silicon Graphics RAM compared to other contemporary RAM, like this stick of PC100, look how freaking different it is. The pins on the SGI RAM are even this super unique double-decker stacked style.
Interesting.
I've never seen that before. We do have a single PCI slot in here, although I don't think there's very many cards that were compatible with this. You can't just stick a normal PCI video card in this thing because this is a MIPS architecture and none of them have boot firmware compatible with that. If you know of any cards that were ever meant to go in here, let me know in the comments down below. Now, there were a few versions of this O2 released. I'm lucky enough here to have the highest end version, and I know that because there's only one hard drive slot. This is the R10K version, which is the R10000 CPU. If it was the lower end version, it wouldn't need such a huge heatsink, and that's what takes up the...
This was a whole other class of computer back then.
Pretty nifty.
I was a little kid.
This thing uses standard PS2 for the keyboard and mouse. It has a proprietary video connector along with just standard VGA. So I'm pairing it with this nice NEC multi-sync LCD 1960 NXI. I'm sure that's important, which kind of looks awesome with this thing. It's sort of an off-green color. Nice.
Old 4x3.
Chime. Yeah, so the hard drive is spinning up, starting up the system. IRIX 6.5 from 2001, around the same time as that G4 Cube, actually. I'm sure that's fine. And here we start seeing some clues as to this thing's previous life, talking about Dartmouth.edu, and I suppose all of these are servers on the early 2000s Dartmouth network, of which I suppose Stilton here was one of them. And we wind up at this lovely login
that explains the network on it.
Stilton here, what I assume is the Dartmouth campus. Hey, look at that. It's a Jeep XJ, I think. Anyway, I don't know any
Sun Ultra 10 workstations and you didn't keep them?
I'm a bit stuck.
I've always wanted to play with the Sun Spark machine.
Because this thing didn't come with a password. Fortunately, IRIX 6.x also came with glaring security vulnerabilities, which we can explore.
You do not miss waiting for computer?
You
but
know,
it was so great.
May not have been a
you
priority
valued your time, you turned the computer on,
you know
made some dinner,
Today's
came
sponsor,
back, computer to be booted.
Staying secure online is incredibly important, and a secure encrypted VPN like XVPN can play a critical role. Connect to only
another VPN service.
Ads that
I can't vouch for them.
You when you're on something like that coffee shop can intercept traffic, protect you from all security hubs.
Never heard of them before, and I can't advocate for them.
Only person with your current slot in a month with Higgins.
God, how long is that ad segment?
A secret weapon, a whole stack full of CDs. Now this is a mix of SGI and Sun discs, but in here I've got all sorts of goodies. IRIX 6.3
Hey, at least my VPN ads are quick and to the point.
Wavefront, soft windows, that could be fun. Stuff that I don't understand, patches, and this. This is our key, the IRIX 6.3 CD. You see, IRIX is based on Unix System 5 with BSD extensions, but it's also not very secure. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We're gonna start this thing up as normal. During startup here, I'm gonna click stop for maintenance and go ahead and pop the installer CD in. That doesn't sound great.
Ooh.
Install system software.
Yeah, that disk drive is on its last leg.
Now we just have to wait for it to finish copying installation tools to disk.
Wait, that's a SCSI disk? I didn't know SCSI had CD drives.
All we have to do is type admin sh root. We are ch rooted into the root account on this system, stilton.cs.dartmouth.edu. And now all we need to do, password, and we can change the root password. I will choose something very secure and definitely not just the word action, all in lowercase. Not that it matters because this whole thing is insecure. Let's do a quick reboot.
To be fair,
here.
You can do the same thing on any other Linux box, but Lux protects that.
Still sounds great. All right, let's see if our elite hacker tricks worked.
Really, any Nix machine you can do
password. Action, all lowercase. Oh my God, we're in. It's a Unix machine. I knew this. Yeah, can you imagine these $10,000 computers on
Jurassic Park reference
campuses, and all students had to do to hack into them was just bring a copy of the install CD? Hilarious. Anyway,
security was not really a thing back then.
Because this thing keeps looking for its network connections, of which there are a ton.
Could be Linus Tech. His ads make up the whole video, then it's sponsors.
Just look how beautiful this desktop environment is. These super 90s colors with the pink address bar and the teal and the whatever the heck color this is supposed to be. Oh, it's awesome. The sounds this thing makes, it's just so freaking good. Okay, so I had a bit of a look around in here, and I did come across somebody's full entire name, and looking them up online, they actually still apparently work at Dartmouth. So I'm not going to show that. Instead, why don't we play around with some fun SGI software
to rewrite a CD.
And we're going to start with
if you got
this.
a CDRW.
First, the out-of-box experience. I have no idea what's going to be on here, but we're going to find out. It would be nice if I had this front cover bit. It's very annoying to push this button in when it's so recessed in there. Come on. Sounds great. All right, click on CD-ROM here. It initializes the software package manager. Okay, install, I guess. Let's see, out-of-box cannot be installed because of missing prerequisites. Oh, stuff on another CD. Ah, son of a gun. I mean, I guess that makes sense. This is IRIX 6.5, and this CD, I think, is meant for 6.3. Can we see what's on here? Just an out-of-box experience. Oh, here we go. This document contains the following chapters. Boring.
Back when software actually had manuals.
Explore what's on this CD.
Included with them.
Yes.
Not go to this website.
Okay, let's see.
Good old days where you burnt stuff to a disk. Yep.
All right, here's all the stuff on the disk. Can we just run it from here? What is Jungle Island? Systor. Oh, good. There's JPEGs in here. Map.html. Is this just a web page on a disk? All right, that doesn't help me at all.
Maybe.
All right, I found something. Check it out. It's the O2 out-of-box experience, which opens in Netscape Communicator. And apparently it's just a bunch of HTML files. When the image of the woman from the opening movie appears, click the large red arrow next to the walking man to begin. Whenever you see red arrows on plaques, you can click the arrow to move. Okay. Ooh, I found something. Look at this. I think it's a game. It's rendering some sort of 3D world in the browser in Netscape. Which version of Netscape is this? All right, we're in Netscape Communicator 4.7.
Good God.
Oh my goodness, this is incredible. It's got sound effects and everything. Whoa! 3D in the browser. Look at that.
That was so ahead of the times.
It's at least 10. Oh my God. Ooh, I can look around. Oh, it's slightly nauseating. You think they watched Jurassic Park a few too many times?
Makes you feel old, doesn't it?
Can I go in here?
I was a little kid when this came out.
On the desolate surface of a remote planet in cyberspace, Cybergourds is a 3D drum machine meets multi-channel mixer in the browser. Wait a minute, is this 1996 Sprunky? Oh my God, it is. What?
What the hell?
What in the heck? Is that a didgeridoo? Oh my God. Well, that is insane. Enough of that. Wow. Neat. All right, we will just eject that CD-ROM and never speak of that again. And look at all of this stuff we have. Kai's Power Tools, which I've heard of, but I don't know what it does. Adobe Premiere, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop 3.1.
Back when you used to be able to own Adobe forever.
All of these discs, they are certainly coming in handy. Let's try to install Photoshop, because that I know how to use. Sounds great. All right, CD is inserted. Funny enough, double-clicking on the CD-ROM this time did not bring up the software manager. Is this an installer? Yeah, I guess so. easyinst.fu, install.fu, photoshop.tar. Are these installers? Oh, it's doing stuff down here. Do you want to proceed with the installation?
Nowadays, you buy Affinity Photo, do the same thing. I've heard things about that.
How about easy install? Yeah, this is just a
I don't know if it runs on Linux.
Doing all sorts of stuff. It's in some sort of a loop. Control-C. Do not have permission. Stop it. Oh no. Loop limit exceeded. I guess I should read me. All right, let's try to do this from a terminal. Okay, which packages do you wish to install? All. Yep. Okay. Enter. Proceed. Yes. All right, it seems to like WinTerm a lot better. Look at that, I think we're installing. This Unix thing is so user-friendly. And it's ended with a bit of an ominous message that I'll need license activation keys for Adobe Photoshop, and I don't have that. But here it is. Where is the actual application? Oh, I guess under bin. There's an Adobe license application. Here's Photoshop. Let's see what happens. Please indicate your acceptance or decline the foregoing agreement. I'm not reading that. Error getting license data file. Photoshop will run in demo mode with save, print, and export functions disabled. Oh man, they're really tightening their security here. Could not determine how much RAM to use. Oh, check it out.
The default amount, 8 megabyte, will be set.
Graphics. That's pretty neat. Get all this other stuff out of here so we can focus on our Photoshop work. Oh, yeah, look at that. That sure is Photoshop. Yay! Too bad I can't save it. Oh man, that is really cool. I think I've now used
Even if you could
Photoshop
save it,
on
how would
Mac,
you export
Windows, and IRIX Unix on a Silicon graphics machine.
Like off the
I wonder how many
machine.
more weird systems we can get Photoshop on. All right, well, I found
$100 for the full suite with a lifetime license, which gives you all of them as infinity.
Look at those 3D graphics. Whoa. Oh, I just launched another Buttonfly. I've popped in the O2 Demos CD, and we have quite a lot of fun sounding stuff on here. 3D video, wavefront, birth of O2, DM text cube, dynamic surfaces. All this stuff I'm sure was mind-blowing in 1996. Oh, I want to play this one. Interactively snowboard as Egghead through a 3D texture-mapped environment. Well, I'm sold. How do I launch it? Too much binary data in file. I dare say I don't know what I'm doing. Alright, system. Software manager. Need to go to, I guess, CD-ROM. Spelled it wrong. CD-ROM dist. Okay. Does not exist. What do you want from me? Okay, according to this, I need to go to CD-ROM/install. Okay. CD-ROM/install. Alright, there we go. What can we install? Can you believe how user-friendly this is? I guess I just have to install.
Compared to Windows back in the day?
demonstration
Yes.
programs. Okay. Start. One conflict. Okay. Don't install it. Start. All right. Well, hopefully jump cut to whatever this does to the system. All right. Apparently that was successful. New application icons will not appear in your icon catalog until you log out and log back in. Choose applications on the Find tool chest. Well, all right. Let's log out. Log back in with our super secure root password. That's definitely not just the word action in all lowercase. That would be insecure. Again, not like this system was in any way secure in the first place. All right, applications. Ooh, here's our demos. Look at that. You know, I'm not seeing the Eggman ski thing here. Whoa, look at this. The CAD center. Oh, that's a heck of a frame rate. How do I do anything? Where's my weapons? Oh no. I don't understand what this wants from me. Oh my god, I fell through the world. Well, that's certainly something. What is this? Aha! This suspiciously looks like a POI in Starfield. Is this 1996 Starfield? Alright, I clicked on the icon of a skull and it says Volume Rendering Primer 2D and is now doing something. Oh, what in the world? Is this like doctor stuff? Look at this. It's a spooky skull. Oh boy, that's something.
This was ahead of the time back then.
Makes sense. We are doing this video in October. Spooky. Oh my god. Cool. Apparently this is a textured cube. It's been loading textures for some time now. Well, apparently that doesn't work. What is Living O2? Whoa, look at this. All of this in Netscape 4. Oh my god, what is going on? I can do all sorts of stuff in here. Welcome to the Living O2, a VRML 2.0 world that mirrors the O2 workstation, allowing me to assemble various pieces of it.
Abusive and back to being a professional victim.
Look, it's telling me about the
Are you talking about your mom again?
Oh no, I'm clipping out. Oh, look, it's telling me about the AV module. Neat. Oh yeah, missing the O2 cam.
That's rough, dude.
Wish I had one of those. Then I could do video conferences with all of
But yeah,
my friends who also have
my mom was a much
SGI
better.
O2s. Well,
She was a
breaking
pill
into a
popper.
computer that you own is always kind of satisfying. And now I don't feel bad about the other things that I plan on doing to this thing, like exploring weird versions of Linux. Yes, that's right, this is the perfect test bed for super obscure MIPS-based Linuxes. If you have any suggestions on what I should install on this thing next, let me know in the
Do
comments
they
down
still
below.
make
And as
MIPS-based
always,
Linuxes
thank
these
you very much
days?
for watching. And I just want to give a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters and channel members. Thank you so much.
That was interesting. I've always wanted one of those. So, let's see. The best budget router you've never heard of. Gotta love YouTube. Takes forever to load. Because, you know.
Well, once again,
Lockers.
as I often do, I spent too much time on eBay and I ended up buying this. And funny thing is, I didn't even know what the heck this thing was. But I saw 6 network interfaces and a $20 price tag, and I figured I could probably turn this into a pretty decent little DIY router. And well, spoiler, I did. But installing OpenSense on this and actually getting it working took a bit more work than I was expecting. And well, that led to a fun little adventure, let's say. I found that this kinda old, odd network appliance packs some very unique features and quirks, some of which I've yet to come across on this channel. I think you guys might find this one pretty interesting, so let's get started.
Some of those chips look a little thick.
Okay, so what the heck is this thing? Well, you can probably tell from the sticker on the front that this is from a brand called Riverbed, and this unit
Never heard of
specifically
them.
is the CX570, which is part of their Steelhead series of products. Riverbed Steelhead is in fact not the name of a great bluegrass band like I might have guessed, but instead it's an ecosystem of products that are designed for network acceleration. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I really understand everything that this would be doing, but basically this could be used in the business world to help optimize and speed up communication between multiple data centers, offices, or whatever else. Essentially, you would put this appliance between your LAN and your WAN, and then do the same on other networks, and then it could sort of transparently improve performance of certain traffic and applications with things like caching or TCP optimization, and other stuff that I don't really care to get into or understand because, well, that's not why I bought this
Stuff
thing.
that doesn't
I bought
matter
this thing
anymore
because,
these
well,
days.
it only cost me $40 after taxes and shipping, and with all those glorious nicks on the front, I figured I could probably convert it into a decent router by installing something like OpenSense. Well, I kind of knew that I could because I came across another listing on eBay for one of these that was marked as an OpenSense router. I didn't necessarily know how easy or difficult that was to do though, and I wanted to try and see if I could mod this unit myself. I also just wanted to take a look at what all is inside and what all this might be able to do.
So it's a reasonably
checking out
modern
gear like
piece of
this and making
hardware.
Videos about it, well, that's probably one of my favorite things about my job as a tech creator. One of my least favorite aspects of being a creator, though, is the hassle of trying to hunt down the right B-roll, music, sound effects. I can't even begin to imagine how much time I've spent trying to do that. But fortunately, the sponsor of this video, Storyblocks, is making my life as a creator much easier. Whether you're just getting started as a creator or doing it full time, Storyblocks gives you everything you need to tell better stories with assets created by real artists. They offer unlimited downloads of high quality, royal-free content with 4K and HD video, music, sound effects, stock photos, and more, all in one place, which just saves so much time. So often I'll get to the point in a video where
I'll have to look at that myself later.
For why DNS isn't working properly, that I do at the top of my videos. Building that from scratch, well, that took way longer than a great selection of music, and I love that I can get all started with unlimited stock linked down. On the front, there are a few LEDs, the power button, 2 USB ports, an RJ45 console port, and then those 6 gigabit NICs. On the back, there's just a plug
Okay,
for a
so they are
power
gigabit.
supply and the power switch. The CX570 comes in this little desktop style case with little feet on the bottom, but it's also designed to be rack mounted. However, it's only half width, meaning it could be perfect for a 10-inch rack, if it wasn't such a long boy. And it's long for a reason. On the inside, there's a lot going on. And there's also quite a bit of dust, so hold on one second. That's better. Back on the inside, one of the first things
Interesting.
you'll notice are the two 2.5-inch drive bays. Mine came with an 80 gigabyte Intel SSD, as well as a 320 gigabyte
So it's
mechanical hard drive.
recent,
There's also
pretty
what appears
much.
to be a by 8 PCIe slot, but well, it's facing towards the front of the case rather than the back. So we'll have to come back to that. Now, I didn't yet know what CPU was in this thing, but the 2GB stick of DDR3 unbuffered ECC memory gave me an idea of just how old it might be. And it's also worth pointing out that there are
too
4 DIMM
old,
sockets,
but
which
that's
is kind of
interesting.
crazy for a simple network appliance. After taking out this little tray that holds the 2.5-inch drives, I also came across this other little board. I had no idea what this was at first. It was plugged in via this socket that I'm not familiar with, but after taking a closer look at the board, I finally figured out that it's a lights out module for monitoring the system even when it's powered off. This isn't that useful for me,
pretty
though, as
straightforward.
I'm pretty sure you have to use the Riverbed software to configure it, and even if I got it set up, on this specific model, it can't be used to actually control anything. Now, one thing you'll notice that this doesn't have is any sort of display output, but it does have that console port on the front for a serial connection. I hooked up my laptop using a USB adapter, powered the system on, fired up PicoCom, and after realizing that it used a slower baud rate of 9600 rather than 115,200, I was able to access the BIOS menu. Now, I was hoping here to see what the
I've done
CPU model
console
was,
connections
but it seems
before.
that Riverbed intentionally obfuscated what it was, as it was just showing an Intel Pentium at 2 GHz. I tinkered around for a bit in the BIOS, and there were actually quite a few options here, but I decided to just go ahead and let it boot to see what happened, and as you might expect, it booted into the Riverbed software. Now, I really didn't care about this software because what I really wanted to do was repurpose it and get something else installed like OpenSense. But
I
before
just
that,
don't
wanted to
understand
make
where
some
you would use a
upgrades,
piece of
starting with the
software like
fans.
this
Originally, there are two
when there's so many other network
back,
appliances can
and
do
well,
the
you
same
can definitely
thing.
hear them. I decided to swap those out with some of these 40mm 6000 RPM fans from Arctic. If you buy these individually, they're a little bit cheaper than the Noctua fans, but you can also buy them in a 5-pack and get a pretty good deal. Other than finding some room for the longer cables, the swap was dead simple, and the noise difference was night and day. Now I
Yeah,
could
but
actually
then,
hear
you
this
know,
little
you
beep when
don't
the
get to
system
hear it
posted,
shift gears.
and I could also hear these 2 clicks. We'll come back to what those were in just a second. Next, I swapped out the thermal paste, just because, well, the system is pretty old, but I also swapped out those fans with some lower RPM ones, so I wanted to make sure we were getting as much cooling as possible. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have any spare unbuffered ECC memory available, so I swapped out that 2GB stick with just a plain 8GB stick of DDR3L memory, and that worked with no issues. I also swapped out the original drives with 2 SATA SSDs so that I could start installing OpenSense. Now, fortunately, OpenSense includes a serial installer, which is perfect for a system like this. So I downloaded that and flashed it to a USB drive. Back in the BIOS, I changed the baud rate from the sluggish 9600 up to 115,200, and then plugged in the install media and installed OpenSense with no issues. I configured the WAN and LAN ports, got a switch hooked up, and configured OpenSense with no issues. Everything was working great, at least on the first 2 ports. The last 4, however, just had this orange light on and didn't seem to work. Alright, do you remember those clicks we heard just a bit ago? Well, those actually came from a bunch of relays that are up at the front of the system that are wired up to those 4 network interfaces, and this creates what's called a LAN bypass. Because of how the system would originally be installed, where it was between the LAN and the WAN, one thing you wouldn't want to have is the system to crash and then lose your internet access entirely. So how this was designed was that you could hook up your LAN and your WAN connection to these 2 ports here, and when the system was on and functioning, those relays would actually be shorted to make these network interfaces work. But if the
Interesting.
software on this crashed or the system just died, those relays would go back to their original position, so it was almost like this is just working as a coupler. That way if this thing went down, you would still have access to your WAN connection. So in the context of this Riverbed network accelerator thing, that works great. But if you're trying to use those 4 ports as a router and they're just bypassed, it doesn't really work that well. After Googling this, I started to get a little bit nervous because a lot of the solutions I were finding had to do with like finding GPIO pins or literally soldering connections on the board, but fortunately, the CX570 is a model that actually has an option to disable this feature in the BIOS, or sort of enable it because the relays have to be on. Anyway, I was able to go into the BIOS, find the setting for the LAN bypass, and after a little bit of tinkering, I was able to find the right settings so that whenever the system powers on, those relays click on and the interfaces all work normally. And so, yeah, at this point, it worked pretty well as just a solid router. I got pretty good results using open speed tests with just a USB adapter on my laptop, and I also got full gigabit up and down when testing with iPerf 3. And with all of that, the CPU usage stayed pretty low.
Oh, it's only a
really
dual
the
core.
only downside with this was that you are stuck with gigabit interfaces. It is a bit long and kind of awkward, and the power usage wasn't great, sitting around the high 20s when running OpenSense. However, I did have an idea. Because
I think that
wasn't
uses
using
just
lights
about
out
as much
management
power
module,
as my
I decided
PF
to just
Sense.
Try unplugging it and see if the system still worked. And it actually booted up faster, and that dropped the idle power usage down to like 22 to 23 watts, which really isn't that bad. And I should go ahead and note now, while I'm talking about running OpenSense on this, that the CPU in this does support the AES NI instruction set, which can help offload encryption and decryption tasks if you're wanting to run different VPN
So it's a
services.
relatively new
However,
but
at this point,
low-powered
I didn't
CPU.
really know what the CPU was still. So I was hoping that if I installed a Linux distro, I might be able to find some more answers about that, and also just test this thing out a bit more. For this, I ended up just taking a Debian 13 live ISO and modifying it so that it supported serial. I tried out a few different commands like lscpu, but still all I could find was that this was just an Intel Pentium clocked at 2 GHz. So I did some more searching online, and I eventually found in a security document that this thing is using, I believe, an Intel Pentium B925C.
Oh, so it's a really
This
low
is an
end.
Ivy Ridge embedded chip from 2013 with 2 cores and 4 threads clocked at 2 GHz. It has a TDP of just 15 watts and supports up to 32 gigabytes of DDR3 ECC. And it actually supports dual channel memory, which I wasn't expecting for an old embedded chip, so I added in another 8 gigabyte stick of DDR3L so that we'd have 16 gigabytes total in dual channel. I also didn't realize that this was a hyper-threaded chip, and looking in the BIOS I could see that hyper-threading was in fact disabled, so I enabled that to get our 4 threads. And then back in
Wonder why
Debian,
we'd
I ran
disable
Gcache.
that.
For a bit of context, I grabbed the results from this upsquared board I looked at recently, which has a newer Intel dual-core, the N6210, as well as a Raspberry Pi 5. Clearly here the performance isn't great, but it's definitely still going to be capable of a variety of tasks. Now, especially
Doesn't
after
have to be
enabling
super
hyper-threading, I was
performant to be a
little bit worried
router.
about CPU thermals because
But
while we
I'm
also
pretty sure if
changed
you
out
start
those
doing
fans for the
IDS,
6000
IPS, and
RPM
stuff
fans,
like that,
well,
it's
the
gonna
system was
be
pretty quiet,
anemic.
so I was kind of worried that we might be cooking the CPU. But after running S2E and a stress test, the thermals were actually pretty good. I don't think I ever saw the package temps jump above like 50 or 51C. Now the last thing that I hadn't really checked out was that PCIe slot, the one that was kind of backwards. Now I think this might have existed for other models in the lineup that used the same board but had a different chassis, and I think this could have been used with like a riser card so that you could add like more network interfaces up to the front of the system. I didn't have any risers on hand to test this with, at least not any that had more than just one lane, and so I tried using this dual SFP Plus card, but well, it was a little bit too big to fit and bumped into the power switch on the back. So instead I dropped in this NVMe adapter, which only uses 4 lanes, but it was at least able to fit. After running LSPCI, I was pretty surprised to see that this actually supported PCIe Gen 3x4.
Lower latency without hyper-threading, maybe.
I believe the CPU only
I don't think
supports
it would-
PCIe Gen 2, so I guess this would have been a chipset
Maybe.
thing. I wish I could confirm whether or not it supported 8 lanes of it, but, well, regardless, that's pretty cool. Now, I don't really know how you would utilize this all that well because the case is already pretty tight and there's not a whole lot of room. Maybe if you took out the LOM board and the SSD
Get a
card,
riser that
perhaps
goes
put it on the
sideways.
case, and maybe you could like mod this thing to have a couple of 10 gig ports or something. That would be pretty cool, but it would also be pretty tricky. But still, this supports PCIe Gen 3, which is pretty awesome. I was kind of expecting to come away from this kind of thinking like, oh, cool, there's this thing and you can kind of repurpose it, but it's probably like loud and probably pretty underpowered or something. But in reality, I think for how little money I spent on this, it's pretty solid. I think you'd be hard pressed to find another 6-port gigabit router with dual SSD slots for like $40, or I guess like 60 after including the fan replacements.
Oh
But
yeah,
still,
it's also
this is like a
used,
pretty
but
solid deal. In fact, well, I'll be honest, I'm actually going to be moving here soon and probably redoing a lot of my home lab and network setup, and, well, there's not a 0% chance that I might consider making this my next router. I also should point out that it's kind of nice to see that Riverbed designed this system in a way to where, well, it's not easy in some ways to repurpose this, but they didn't like intentionally make it impossible.
I don't think I would
repurpose
use
this
that,
as
but
something
that's
else after
because
no longer
I do a
serving
lot of
as a
IDS, IPS stuff, and I think that might be a little bit anemic for what I
that's kinda
do.
cool. Anyway, I really
I have an
enjoyed this
8-core
little
Intel
adventure, and I
Atom
hope you guys
server
enjoyed this
edition.
video as well. If you did, maybe consider giving it a thumbs up.
That's a little bit
consider
overkill,
subscribing,
but a 4
or
core
for
would
as
be
little
at
as
least what I
$1 a
need.
month, you can help support the channel and also get early access to all of my videos with 0 ads, which I think is a pretty good deal. Maybe consider checking it out. That's about it for this one though, so as always, thank you guys so much for watching, stay curious, and I really can't wait to see you in the next one.
Interesting. I mean, it's a $40 little guy, so it's something, but I don't know if I would, recommend anyone get that. I mean, if you want a tinker toy, sure.
Grok! What that rock up there? Brooke,
What did you
fine.
send me,
What
vampire?
Brooke doing? Brooke play prank. Go away.
Amazing! A complete skeleton, a trilobite, and an inscription. What secrets will this reveal?
God damn it!
Oh, God damn it.
Vampire. From the heart.
Wow, so we've got...
Have you ever heard of Kato Networks? I've heard of them. Okay, yeah, you actually put this video up, which I wanted to,
Hey
watch
everybody,
too.
it's Lon Seidman. I've got an
Yeah,
update
we
for
talked
you
about the
all on
Valve
our
Frame
effort
VR
to
headset
stop the encryption
already in the
of
past couple
public
streams.
Television airwaves. Believe it or not, the nation's largest broadcasters want to lock down all of their signals, making it very difficult for consumers to watch TV and record it the way they do today. We've managed to get thousands of people to file on the FCC docket. The FCC has taken notice of that and has put broadcasters in the hot seat, where we are waiting for them to answer some pretty pointed questions about this issue. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been following some of the industry press, and there seems to be some cracks in the DRM foundation here. Not everybody is on board. So we're going to take a look at some recent developments related to some of the encryption standards that are out there, but also what some pretty influential people in the industry are saying, and they are beginning to question whether this DRM is something they should be pursuing. Let's get to it.
Well, good. We shouldn't have DRM and over-the-air
Before we jump into This
TV.
week's topic, I do want to let you know that this video is sponsored by all of you. That includes everyone who watches and subscribes to this channel, but also those of you who have contributed to the channel, either through my donor box page at lon.tv/support, through our Patreon, our float plane, or the YouTube membership program. Your super thanks are also very appreciated. And of course, we've got the merch store that you'll find down below in the shelf if you wanted to pick up a coffee mug or something like that. Whatever you do, even just watching this channel does help keep the lights on around here, and of course keeps our fight going to stop the encryption of the public airwaves.
We shouldn't have DRM, period. I agree with
That
that.
are taking place out there in this debate. Now, first, I've got a little bit of an update from last week's video where we talked about the order that the FCC voted on that was very critical of DRM and is beginning another public comment period about DRM and a few other issues. That public comment period has not yet started. It will likely start this week. What we're waiting on is for the order that the FCC voted on to appear in the Federal Register. Once it is published in the Federal Register, that is when the clock starts ticking, and we'll have a separate video all about filing with the FCC, so we'll be definitely letting you know when that occurs. I'll have a little bit more at the end of this video too, but just know that that comment period, at least at the time I'm recording this video, hasn't yet started, but it likely will, maybe even by tonight, so I will keep you posted on that. One other interesting piece of news that happened this week is that Silicon Dust has become an official ATSC 3.0
Mazel frickin'
certificate
tov.
authority. Now, Silicon Dust makes the HD Home Run Network Tuner. This is one of the
That was one of the things I was trying to get,
broadcaster's private
but
regulator
that was an issue.
has prohibited from tuning DRM protected signals. And this is not a competing DRM technology, but rather a different alternative for stations that need to put together a broadcast identification certificate. So another portion, this has got so complicated, another portion of this TV standard beyond the encryption is that every station will at some point need to broadcast out an encrypted packet of data that identifies their station, whether they're using encryption or not. And when the broadcasters decide to enable this feature on the receiving end, every ATSC3 compatible television is required to not show a viewer a TV station that hasn't been validated using this certificate data. So what Silicon Dust now is offering TV broadcasters is the ability to get that certificate from an alternative source other than the A3SA, which is the private regulatory authority that some of the larger broadcasters have put together. So for smaller broadcasters that don't want to be essentially under the thumb of these big companies, now they can go to Silicon Dust and get that encryption certificate. It also looks like, from reading the press releases, that they have a little bit more robustness for bad weather and other things, so it might actually be a better alternative. But again, this is not for DRM. This is a whole separate encryption technology that's used to identify the TV station. So it was good to see them offering some alternatives here, but it also shows you just how crazy this new standard is, because you've got two things that would normally be regulated by the FCC that are now in the realm of private regulation.
I don't like that.
So we might see competing DRM standards. We might see competing station ID standards like we're seeing here.
It's going to be so annoying on
It's
over-the-air
definitely
TV.
something that the FCC is going to need to consider insofar as how the rest of this standard rolls out, because it's going to be very confusing, not only for broadcasters, but also for consumers, especially if they can't watch the TV station that their TV is receiving due to identification issues. So stay tuned. There's more on this, but good on Silicon Dust for finding
I don't understand why we need that.
What the big broadcasters are trying to impose on smaller stations.
I miss
There are
when it
some
was
things
analog
brewing out
TV.
there in these trade publications that I wanted to let you know about. One big one here, an op-ed, was posted on TV Tech the other day. This is one of the larger broadcast TV trade publications. And in this article, Fred Baumgartner, who is a former executive at the Sinclair Broadcasting Group, and they're one of the key proponents of DRM. They have been just tone deaf about this issue from
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I'm sorry, I had to.
That it's been implemented. But Baumgartner is a retired executive from that organization. He retired in 2022, but he was the director of the Next Gen TV implementation, and he's had a change of heart regarding encryption and just the entire strategy here. He says, I can't imagine anyone defending our current adoption strategy. We just learned a lesson we needed. That in no way takes away from the accomplishments of getting to a standard and lighting up most of the nation with at least one 3.0 signal, but it's time for a real adoption plan, a product development plan, and it's not easy work to do. But he goes on to say that encryption must go.
It would not stop ham radio people.
TVs should have a TV button that takes you to the
for videos over amateur. It's a different standard.
Without interruption. Grandma should be able to watch TV on her own. TVs should be quite functional without internet dependence, and they should
This is over regulated FCC spectrums.
Data. We've been talking about how really aggressive those TVs are in capturing your data, but the broadcasters want a piece of that as well. Now, this article definitely shows there are some cracks in the DRM cartel here, because here is a former Sinclair executive, one of the people who was in charge of rolling this standard out until he retired, who's saying that these decisions we've made may not have been the best decisions, but still Sinclair is doubling down. Guess who responded to the article in a follow-up piece? Mark Aiken, the guy we talked about last week, who's now kind of in that role at Sinclair as a vice president of all these
not
emerging
all TV users indeed have internet access.
About last week, who said that you could watch TV on your phone, but you can't because it's encrypted. And we pointed that out when he posted that nonsense on LinkedIn. Well, now he's got more nonsense that he's putting in a trade magazine here, saying that encryption.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Encryption is not an encumbrance to free over-the-air television when it is properly implemented. I don't know if he's implying that the current rollout has not been properly implemented. We all know the answer to that. It hasn't been. Or whether or not he actually believes that it's being properly implemented. And I think that might be where he's at, because that's what he's been saying and his company has been saying to the FCC and the public over the last couple of months.
Don't tempt me to harass people on LinkedIn.
But also note he talks about free unencumbered access to the 3.0 primary. And what he means by that is that Sinclair's intention is to offer one free channel to meet the federal regulations, but then charge for everything else that you might get over the air. And of course, ATSC 3 is much more efficient than ATSC 1, so they might be able to offer more programming or maybe higher quality versions of their side channels. But it looks like Sinclair's intention here is to charge people to watch things that they were otherwise getting for free over the air in the past. And this is also
we just told them their opinions suck.
Important. However, I wonder,
nothing illegal about that.
People are cutting the cord because they're sick of paying retransmission fees. What makes them think that we're going to pay to get it over an antenna? I don't think it's going to happen, but it just shows you how.
Yeah, I would never pay for a TV over the air.
You would think things would just probably be done with it at that point, but Fred doubles down and responds in the article, and he says more about his thoughts on encryption. So Baumgartner, again, the retired Sinclair executive, says, it is time to pause encryption. It is very divisive. At launch, it was abrupt, poorly communicated, and unexpected blanket encryption alienated and infuriated our first adopters, me and all of you, along with influencers and several manufacturers. And LG, of course, pulled all the ATSC3 tuners from their TVs. Encryption, he says, fundamentally and inherently changes broadcasting into narrowcasting, and that is its purpose. By the way, that was something the FCC is going to be asking broadcasters to respond to in this order that we're just waiting on publication for, because that was something the FCC pointed out as well. And he goes on, he says, in May 2024, he wrote a 5-page primer on next-gen encryption's impact as part of a series on the adoption of next-gen for the Spectrum Monitor, another trade publication. As hard as I tried, I could not make the case where the benefits of encryption outweighed the detriments. And frankly, some of the justifications offered for OTA encryption are, I judge, absurd. Like Mark, I noted that encryption, if used, needed to be properly implemented. OTA encryption yearns for guardrails and invites regulation to counteract abuse. OTA encryption, internet encryption is different, should be paused. Properly implemented OTA encryption can be selectively triggered later if the use case makes sense. So, as I mentioned, we're just waiting on the publication of the FCC's order in the Federal Register. Once that happens, the public comment period will begin. What's great about this next round is that the broadcasters have a lot to answer for, and that's primarily the focus of what the FCC is asking about. But I think what's going to be important for us is to be able to respond to any misinformation that gets out there. But additionally, I think it would be good for us to proactively submit some pictures of ourselves. You can do that by embedding the photo in a PDF or a Word document and submitting this on the record, because we often see, these filings happen with just text and words, but many times the imagery is not there, especially of people who are being directly impacted.
I didn't even think to do that.
So I intend to submit this picture along with photos from some of my other devices that are currently locked out of playing back free over-the-air television. And remember, those airwaves belong to the public. So I'm going to keep you posted on things. Like I said, I'll do a video once the Federal Register is published to give you some more instructions. But I've set up a special email list. It looks like about 350 of you have already subscribed to it. But if you go to lon.tv/rapid response, I will keep you up to date whenever some nonsense gets put into the docket that we need to respond to. And again, I've got instructions for filing on the FCC docket over at lon.tv/FCC instructions. If you head over there, you can get all the info you need for filing your comments. And again, I'll do a video tutorial about this as well, so that you can learn how to post a document that would have photos embedded in it, again, once the comment period begins. So sign up for that rapid response email list at lon.tv/rapid response. It is a double opt-in, so what happens is that after you subscribe, you're going to get an email to confirm your subscription. If you don't click on the link that comes in that email, you don't get subscribed. So there's about 30 of you right now that are in limbo who did subscribe but didn't click the button. I had to enable double opt-in a few years ago because spammers, for some reason, were just randomly signing people up to my email lists, and it created a big nightmare. So I had to lock it down a bit. So if you are stuck, email me at lon@lon.tv and I'll manually enable you. But you definitely got to go through that double opt-in process there. So that will do it for this one. This is actually pretty encouraging to see that now the industry is beginning to question itself. So that is very encouraging. That's good to hear, at least. Also encouraging is that the FCC spent so much of that filing focused on our issues here, the issues of the people, primarily about the encryption, but also some other issues related to it. And we did not see this level of attention to the public's concerns in an FCC filing like this before. With the ATSC 1.0 transition, the broadcast flag was just put right into the regulation. There wasn't a lot of discussion about it. Now we've got the FCC who's concerned about the encryption, but is also concerned about fair use rights related to recording. That's in there too. So you should all pat yourselves on the back here a bit. I think we've made a lot of progress here. There is still much more work to be done, but I am very encouraged that this agency is listening to us. They definitely spent a lot of time with Tyler.
The FCC has actually been one of the few regulatory agencies that I think does decently well, but it depends on the administration.
In the country, so let's keep going. That'll do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching.
Okay. So let's see, what's next that Vampire got for us? Maybe have time for 2 more well, maybe 3. We'll see how long this is. Build list, your personal online factory.
Just a quick video today to let you know I've updated the Build List website. To recap for those who haven't seen it, Build List is a directory of on-demand manufacturers of different types. The idea was to create a resource for makers, designers and engineers.
Oh, this administration's FCC is aft.
Whatever creative projects you might be working on. Since I originally set this up a few years back, the prevalence of online instant quoting systems combined with the distribution of different manufacturing technologies means now more than ever it's possible to get a whole range of things made in one-off or low-volume runs for cheaper than you might imagine. I intentionally pick websites that don't require you to create an account to see quotes because I find that annoying. Some of them may ask for an email address, but you can put in anything in there just to see the pricing quickly. For all the listed links, you basically upload your files, select your manufacturing options, and you'll instantly be shown how much it'll cost and how long it'll take to make. I've added any relevant information for each section, including if there are any setup fees or minimum order values, so you can quickly compare services. For this update, I've added around 150 new links, cleaned up any dead links, and added some new categories. Let's quickly go through them. 3D printing has continued to grow massively, and this section has seen the biggest increase. We now have decent worldwide representation, so hopefully there are multiple local options available to you. Most of these offer FDM-based printing, but I've noticed a big increase in resin, SLS powder printing, and quite a few SLM metal printing options. Which
This is an interesting little
The laser
project.
cutting section has also expanded, and quite a few metal laser cutting services have popped up over the past few years. There are still other options for cutting and engraving wood, plastic, and card available too. CNC milling is also growing too, and there are a few more services available for more complex custom metal and plastic parts. Sticker printing is a new section and an area that's exploded over the past few years. Most of the services offer a range of sticker types, custom shapes and sizes, etc. One area that's taken off recently are UV transfer stickers, and I think these could be super handy for finishing 3D prints and other projects for very cheaply. Custom packaging is another new section, and again, it's something that's
Maybe an
grown
idea
recently.
for my DEF CON
There are now
stickers
quite
next
a few
year.
services out there allowing you to create custom-sized boxes, bags, and pouches, etc. Getting them manufactured and printed, which could be really handy if you're looking to turn your little project into a side business, or if you're creating one-offs for an event or something. Book and zine printing and PCB manufacturing have largely remained the same since last time. And finally, the metal casting section has grown. This one's a bit more expensive, but it's still very cool that you can design, say, a piece of jewellery, upload your 3D file and get it made in a precious metal and sent to you. A few of these offer wax printing too, so you can cast your own parts yourself. One aspect that I like about the directory is that it's a mixture of large manufacturing businesses and tiny one-person outfits, so you can find a whole range of pricing and options. As always, do your own research before using any particular service. Anyways, I hope you find this useful. If you have any ideas for new categories, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.
That's an interesting little project there. Alright, let's see. What's this video? I think we have time for one more video before we get ready for bed.
Welcome to Dishy Tech, where we talk all things low Earth orbit satellite internet. And mainly that's been Starlink coverage, because really Starlink is the only consumer option available right now. But that could soon change, because there is a new Starlink competitor that is about to be launched from Amazon. And previously,
Of course, another billionaire. Woo!
They've released some additional information. Some new exciting changes have happened since my last Project Kuiper update. So I'm making this video to catch you guys up and let you know all the big changes and announcements that have come in the last couple weeks. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so the biggest change we have to talk about is the new name. So Amazon is no longer calling it by its code name, which was Project Kuiper. The marketing department has gotten involved and they picked a permanent name for their commercial service, and it is now called Amazon Leo. L-E-O, that's kind of a play on the acronym LEO, Low Earth Orbit. Of course, Low Earth Orbit is where they're deploying all their satellites for their constellation, same as Starlink. Low Earth Orbit for satellite internet has a ton of benefits, mainly reduced latency. It makes the latency comparable to terrestrial internet sources, but also higher speeds and just better performance and coverage overall. So Amazon Leo is the new name.
How many satellites are they trying to launch?
They've also got a new website. So previously, they had like a random
You had Project
Amazon
Kuiper
blog
recruiters
page where they
constantly
did
trying to
all their
recruit me.
updates that I got a lot of my information from. But now Amazon Leo has its official website, all new branding, new logo, all that sort of thing. So let's check it out. So this is the new Amazon Leo website. You can access it by going to leo.amazon.com, and it's pretty basic. It plays right here, the start of a video, which you can also view on their YouTube channel, but it's just a short little video showcasing you some of the use cases for their upcoming satellite internet service.
Sorry. So, y'all know I've not been really a fan of Elon Musk. I'm not particularly a fan of Jeff Bezos. But it's one of those, like, when people ask me why I use Apple, it's because I hate Apple less than Google. It's not that I like Apple. I think this is going to be the same situation of, well, why do you recommend Amazon Leo? Well, I hate them less than I do Elon Musk.
We get some more images, some different information.
Oh yeah, there is indeed so much garbage floating in
First of all, you
space.
have 3 different menu items.
People
You
are
have a
shocked when I tell them
personal
about how
service
much
station,
space
government,
junk we have out in the
depending on
orbit.
what your use case is, you can click to learn more information. But if you scroll down, you can see, this is generally just marketing stuff. We all know what satellite internet is, and this just kind of explains how the coverage is going to work, that sort of thing. But we do get a lot more information on the antennas and their user terminals and the speed that they wish to deliver. So if we go into what I think is the most interesting page, which is technology, you can see some different information about their user terminals. So this is not necessarily something new. They've had these user terminal designs for years, but they now have more information.
Sure, finding companies for improper satellite
their
disposal.
user terminals
Well, good.
are going to be sort of the same as Starlink, where they have 3 different levels. They have Amazon Leo Nano, which is their small portable one, delivering up to 100 megabits
not
per
bad.
second in a tiny little portable package. And then you step up to their main terminal, which is called the Pro. Amazon Leo Pro is kind of like your everyday dish, provides speeds up to around 400 megabits per second.
What's the
all in a
upload
small
like?
package as well, just 11 by 11 inches. And then finally, for the enterprise customers, for the ultra high performance customers, is the Ultra antenna. So this is the big boy. This is designed to support speeds up to 1 gig per second.
Again, I want to know what the upload is.
About the specs listed on this page, especially
Everyone
for the
focuses on the
Amazon
download, but what's the
Nano
upload?
user terminal, is the comparison with Starlink's mini dish. So this is the Starlink mini user terminal, and this is Starlink's ultra portable option. This is the smallest of their 3 user terminals, and the difference
Can I change
between
distros without
Amazon's
any
lineup
flash
and
drive?
Starlink's lineup is pretty striking. The Amazon Nano, their
potentially.
smallest unit, measures in at
You
just
can always
7
use an
by
SD
7
card.
inches. And just to give you a perspective on that, this is
No,
the
but you always need a different
Starlink
medium to
Mini,
switch
right?
over.
This is about 11 by 10 inches. So the Mini, the Starlink Mini, is roughly the size of their Pro terminal, like their middle range terminal. The Nano from Amazon is going to be tiny. I mean, shave, 4 or 5 inches off of each dimension.
Well, that's going to be a tiny little guy.
And you have the Nano. So just to give you an idea, as of right now,
And if that's already
the
small
hardware-
from
hardware
Starlink, yeah.
comparison standpoint, the Nano I'm really excited for, really looking forward to, because it undercuts the Starlink Mini by quite a bit in terms of size. We'll have to, I'll obviously
Imagine
check
me
out the
getting an
performance
Amazon
and
Leo
all
Mini
that, but
or the
it
Nano
just goes to show you that Amazon
while
is
I'm at
targeting
DEF
some of
CON.
the same
That'd be great.
customers that Starlink is, including some of those recreational camper, portable travel type use cases. So that is the equipment. That is some of the new details that you can see on this Amazon Leo website.
I still want to know what the
Another
upload
thing
is.
That's exciting about this is that we now have a chance to join a wait list of sorts for Amazon Leo. So if you're interested in keeping up to date with Amazon Leo, maybe potentially being a customer, then you can click this little button at the top of their website called Join the List. And this lets you sign up either as a personal, business, or government customer. And this just basically signs you up to their email newsletter. So you'll be among the first to learn about some of their new updates as the rollout and deployment of Amazon Leo goes on. So definitely sign up here if you're interested in becoming a customer eventually, or at least
I don't know why, but I feel like a
Just like we saw
LoRa
with
Halo
Starlink,
satellite would
it
be
will
funny.
likely be
It'd be
a
interesting.
waitlisted
I don't think it would
service.
reach
There's
as
not
well.
gonna be enough capacity to serve every customer that wants to sign up in the beginning. So likely what we'll see is the people that sign up to this email list are among the first to be invited to try out their service when it launches for consumers. So that's the new website, that's the new branding and everything for Amazon Leo. Next up, let's talk about the satellite deployment, because at the end of the day, a satellite internet service is only as good as the satellites that power it. And right now, Amazon Leo is in that mass deployment stage where they're trying to get up as many satellites as they can to get off the ground and start offering service. And they've reached an important milestone. So Amazon in their FCC approvals has talked about 5 phases of deployment. So they eventually want to have over 3,200 satellites in orbit in their full constellation. But they're
3,200?
About 5 phases.
Good God!
The first phase is 578 satellites. That's what they need to offer continuous coverage for their first initial pilot customers. And as of today, they have 158 satellites deployed. That's after 6 launches, and that means they're over 25% complete with that phase 1 deployment.
6 launches and that many? Wow, that's kind of interesting.
Now, they started launching in April of this year, April of 2025, and they've launched at a cadence of around once per month, which is extremely slow, especially if you compare that to Starlink's launch cadence. But we're getting ready to enter what Amazon calls a rapid launch phase, where ULA, United Launch Alliance, is going to use their Vulcan rocket to send up a lot more Amazon Leo satellites than they previously have been over the course of this year. So previously they've been using ULA Atlas V rockets and even SpaceX Falcon 9, where they can deploy around 24 to 27 satellites per launch. ULA's Vulcan launch vehicle, which they have 30 launches scheduled, will deploy almost double that. So they'll be able to launch not only more satellites per launch, but they plan on launching at a much faster cadence, which means Amazon is hoping to hit that phase 1 deployment of around 600 satellites before the end of Q1 2026. And in that quarter, they hope to be delivering some of the first.
So are we saying like late 2026 this might be live?
Will be mainly enterprise customers, big businesses, things like that, which is another point that I wanted to talk about in this video. They're doing like the opposite rollout of Starlink. Starlink was basically like, hey, we had this new thing, it's low Earth orbit satellite internet. Let's just push it out there to like these beta testers, these consumers who are going to use it for home internet. It's going to be pretty unreliable at first. It's going to be pretty slow at first, and that's how it was. You know, I signed up in 2021.
Isn't that a fit to launch satellites yet?
Over 100 megabits per second. There were frequent outages. It wasn't really that great.
Oh, really? SpaceX launched it, even though they're a competitor.
They've refined it obviously since then, and as of today, you know, Starlink is great. It's rock solid, reliable, and really, really fast and everything like that. So obviously they've made improvements.
I'm guessing SpaceX is desperate they can't turn down customers.
Commercial customers since then, in addition to their consumers. But Amazon seems to be doing basically the opposite of that, where they're gonna sign up these big customers, you know, enterprise and government customers, where we're gonna pilot the service first in 2026, and then it'll eventually expand to consumers where, you know, you and I will be able to go out and buy Amazon Leo eventually sometime in 2026, maybe even 2027 timeframe. So even though Amazon plans to start delivering service in 2026, I wouldn't hold your breath. If you're a consumer, if you're a home internet customer or a travel internet customer, you're gonna be probably waiting at least another year or two before Amazon Leo services are available to you. Finally, for this video, I wanted to talk about another important milestone that Amazon has achieved in their deployment of their Amazon Leo.
No, I don't think SpaceX kicked out Elon yet.
The first low Earth orbit satellite internet speed test of 1 gigabit per second or greater.
They launched for EchoStar Dish, even while they were contesting for some spectrum. Interesting.
And all that stuff. Starlink has not been capable of doing a 1 gigabit per second download speed to a single user terminal as of right now. And that's because they have a limitation with their satellites that are actually in orbit. It's not going to be until the next generation V3 satellites that Starlink is able to start delivering those 1 gigabit per second speeds to customer terminals on the ground. But Amazon has actually beat them to that. Now there's kind of a caveat, which I'll get into here in a second. But the big news is that Amazon has successfully tested their ultra, user terminal, their top of the line model, and achieved over 1,200 megabits per second. That's over a gig download speeds on a public internet speed test.
Again, what's the upload?
I posted a video of it, and this is pretty exciting because, as I just said, they claim that this is the first commercial phased array antenna using low Earth orbit satellite internet to achieve 1 gigabits per second download speeds, which is exciting. Of course, the caveat is that Amazon doesn't have really any customers using their satellite network, so there's no congestion, there's no capacity issues. These are under extremely ideal conditions, but with all that said, it is a successful 1 gig download speed test on their network, something that Starlink cannot do at the moment. So now you're all caught up on Amazon Leo. Just to recap here, they've changed their name from Project Kuiper to Amazon Leo. They've given some more details about their user terminals. They've achieved a 1 gig per second download speed result using one of their Ultra terminals, and they're about 25% complete through their phase 1 deployment until they can serve their first customers. So it looks like we'll definitely be getting at least those first pilot customers going online sometime in 2026.
It'll be interesting.
And if all goes to plan according to their launch schedule, we should start seeing consumers having access to Amazon.
I'm wondering what the price point is and the upload
2026
speed.
or 2027. The time will fly. I mean, honestly, right now with Amazon Leo, it feels like Starlink did back in 2019, 2020, where they're launching satellites, but they haven't offered service yet, and we're just kind of waiting, sitting here waiting to see what happens. But honestly, that was, 5, almost 6 years ago now, and time flies. So I'm sure 5 years from now, the game of low Earth orbit satellite internet.
I wonder if we're ever going to have the issue of them colliding into each other.
Amazon, and that's just great for you and I, customers. Competition is great. It drives innovation from these companies. It lowers prices, and that's a good thing. I'm not a fanboy of Elon Musk. I'm not a fanboy of Jeff Bezos. I don't really care either way which service I go with. I just want to provide you with the best content possible. And that means covering both services, both Amazon Leo and Starlink, and just making interesting videos about each service and about each company's hardware. So I look forward to covering Amazon Leo and Starlink as time goes on.
It'll be interesting. I'm curious to see
Amazon Leo's progress.
how well
So I
it'll
encourage you to
perform.
Take a look at Amazon Leo's website, leo.amazon.com. Sign up to their email newsletter so you can stay up to date with them. And take a look at the technology page. Take a look at those user terminals and let me know what you think. Also, I'd love to know what you think, what their pricing and strategy should be to kind of court some of those existing Starlink customers. Starlink's doing a lot of good things in terms of pricing promotions, completely eliminating the upfront costs in most areas of the US. So they're clearly on a strategy of combating Amazon Leo early on by just eliminating upfront costs and just charging people monthly. So let me know what you think Amazon Leo has to do to compete with Starlink in the US and other markets. As always, I really appreciate you watching. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe so you never miss any of my Amazon Leo or Starlink updates, and I'll see you in the next video.
It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I'm curious to see what they come out with, but I mean, maybe one day I'll play with Amazon Leo. It's hard to say where we'll go from here. Don't know. You never know what tomorrow brings. Yeah. But for now, I'm tired from my long day. I'm gonna try to get to bed a little early. I may stream again on Friday, depending on how I feel. I'm gonna be working on the home lab stuff. I do need to get this set up as the SIEM SOAR, all that stuff. I will cover that on my upcoming videos with Grafana, with Wuzza, with all the other technologies and everything. It was this is live about I love cybersecurity and want to learn more. We're just doing it's just a general chill out and people hang out, but we go over different things. Some appliances I'm going to be building and all that. This was just a chill out stream, but thank you all for joining. I will maybe be back on tomorrow or Friday, no guarantees, but the next planned stream for sure is Sunday night. Maybe Saturday we'll do something. I'll see. I want to get these projects out of the way, but there's some stuff I got to set up without y'all seeing, because there's some sensitive things. But once it's all said and done, I will share the goods. There will be YouTube videos. I got to record some more YouTube videos and stuff like that. Sorry it's been a little bit delayed. Work has been draining me. I have plans to catch up on all my content over Thanksgiving. So when Turkey Day hits, I should have a 4-day weekend. Maybe get off early, so 4.5-day weekend. And catch up on everything. Yubico sale next week, 30%. Oh, nice. Cool. Yeah, go get some YubiKeys then. But otherwise, I will see you all later. Make sure, if you haven't already, to follow me on all of my socials. The links are in the bio. I am on Mastodon, Blue Sky, Twitch, Kick, YouTube, and of course we have the Discord and the Matrix servers if you want to come and hang out with the community. Thank you all for joining me. Stick around for the raid if you're over on Twitch. Otherwise, I will see you, if not tomorrow or the day after, Sunday. Stay safe, love y'all, and as always, happy hacking.